Salam everyone and welcome back to the Majlis Podcast where we talk about all things Afghan. I'm your host Mansoor and as always with me is Noori. Our guest today is none other than Waheed Pirzai. Waheed embodies the resilience and determination that defines the Afghan American experience. Born in Afghanistan, his journey to Sacramento has been marked by challenges, perseverance, and a deep commitment to serving his community. After spending years as a refugee in Pakistan, his family made the courageous decision to start anew in the United States when he was just 12 years old. Despite facing adversity and not being born into privilege, he has defied the odds, achieving a remarkable level of education and dedicating himself to the noble profession of healthcare. As a physician's assistant here in Sacramento, Waheed plays a vital role in providing compassionate care to many Afghan patients, drawing on his own background and cultural understanding to make a meaningful difference in their lives. Beyond his professional endeavors, Waheed is also a devoted father of 2 children, balancing the demands of his career with his responsibilities at home. Join us as we delve into Waheed's inspiring journey from his early days as a refugee to his current role as a healthcare provider and community advocate. Through his story, we hope to educate and inspire our listeners, shining a light on the resilience and strength of the Afghan American community. Waheed John, welcome to the Majlis Podcast.
Thank you so much, and salam to everybody. Thank you for that warm introduction.
Of course.
And I'm just honored to be here.
We're lucky to have you.
Thank you, Noori.
I'm excited to see how this episode turns out. Hoping to learn a lot.
Yes, and likewise, I'm happy to be here.
Well, I'm also super excited because not often do you get an Afghan professional, but on top of that, their main clientele or the people that they work with are also Afghans.
Yes.
So this will definitely be an interesting one for us, and I'm sure for our audience as well. But getting away, starting fresh. Let's just jump into a little icebreaker and get to know each other a little bit. What's a simple food that you guys would never eat? I can start actually.
Okay.
I'll start. I'll give you guys some time to think about it. I do not like seafood that much, especially like crustaceans. I guess that's what they're called. But like shrimp, I'm not really good with shrimp. I just see their little hands and yeah, it's not for me. Yeah, I mean some fish I like salmon. Like I like salmon, something that looks nice and like regular meat, nice and clean. I could work with that. But most seafood doesn't really sit right with me.
Yeah.
Especially if it's raw, you can't have it, huh?
Oh yeah, you're talking about
Sushi?
Sushi, yeah. I've heard it's great. I've had cooked sushi and it was really good.
So you wouldn't have raw salmon on a sushi?
I feel like if I didn't know and I ate it, I'd be fine. But I think it's like a mental challenge for me to get over.
It's not for everybody, for sure. I can't think of anything. Certainly, one thing that Afghans love, and unfortunately, they're not gonna like me by saying this, but I don't like what's called gosh taqab, lundi.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just can't do the smell. I don't know. But I know it's a very famous and favorite among a lot of people. So yeah, I don't think I can do that.
It's one of my favorites, man.
I bet it is.
What about you, Noori?
Honestly, probably like any type of soup.
Soup?
Yeah.
Soup,
I'm not really a big fan of soup. So I've tried all kinds of different soup, like Afghan soup. I've had American soup. I've never liked it.
Just can't do it.
I just can't do it. Yeah.
I never get full off of soup.
Well, it's not supposed to be a full entree.
I was just gonna say.
Sometimes you can, but
Like when you're sick, they give you soup. But it's like, what else?
Like, don't Americans normally eat soup with bread?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Well, we do too. The
Shorop.
Yeah.
Does that count?
That does.
That's mostly
That does.
bread.
Yeah. Well, bread is a very common favorite among everybody.
Fresh bread, dude.
But I do agree with you. If you don't add anything else to the soup, I don't know. It's not gonna fill you up for sure.
Dude, you know the way we Afghans are, like there has to be like something very heavy involved.
Yeah.
You know, like this soup is not gonna cut it.
No.
You know, my coworker brought this up the other day. She was talking about her dad because we have a lot of vegetarians on our team. So when we eat food, a lot of the people don't eat any meat. And one of my coworkers, she was talking about her dad, and she was like, her dad, when he has a meal or a vegetarian meal where he doesn't eat any protein, he doesn't feel like he's had a meal because there was no protein. And when she told me that, I honestly was like, I never thought about that because I rarely ever eat meals without meat. But honestly, that was a very good point. So kind of on that same thing, like eating soup without like a protein, it just doesn't feel like a meal.
It doesn't, right?
Another thing that gets me is like I have to have a warm meal to feel like I really had like a good solid meal. Like even if it's a sandwich, like a cold sandwich usually just doesn't do it. It's got to be like a warm sandwich, you know? I don't know. I think it's like a mental thing, but
Yeah, no, I mean it tastes better when it's like warm meal, especially if it's cold outside. Oh man, that warm soup.
Well, John, you were born in Afghanistan, so you spent some time in Afghanistan, right?
I did. Yes, I was born there, and I was very young when my family. Well, it wasn't like we decided to move, but unfortunately, just like most Afghans, who we were forced to leave our own country and home and everything behind.
Yeah.
So yes, I was about 5 or 6 year old. Yes, and then we moved to neighboring country Pakistan for some time before coming to the United States. So yeah.
Do you have any memories of Afghanistan? I know you were young.
I do. I definitely remember the mountains. Yeah, just like walking down the street. You beautiful view of the mountains in the back. Snow on top.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's about it. But I did go back when I was older, living in Pakistan. So I would, my parents would go back and forth just to visit family from time to time.
Mm-hmm. Let me ask you a question. So I know you were in Afghanistan. You left Afghanistan when you were very young, but you have some memories about like the area and stuff. And you've kind of also traveled around America. Is there one particular city that you can think of that reminds you like you're in Afghanistan?
I've been to Denver, Colorado. Colorado actually definitely reminds me of that, just the Rocky Mountains and all that. And Afghanistan, as everybody knows, a very mountainous area, country. So definitely Colorado. But I think that's it. Yeah. Well, if we go to Lake Tahoe,
yeah,
recently we went out there, and then we were by the lake, and then I could see the mountains in the background with snow on top and all that. I really enjoyed that. It kind of took me back. For sure.
I'm surprised, but actually I should be surprised that you said that because I've never been to Afghanistan, but I've seen a lot of pictures, like especially like of Kabul, and I remember going to Colorado for work, and feeling like, wow, this looks a lot like the pictures because it's like the city is in the center, and then all around it's just like snow-capped mountains, and that's exactly how I felt too.
Yep. Certain parts of Afghanistan, I wish I could visit every part, but again, my family's from Kabul, Afghanistan, and so that's where most of my memories for whatever is left, I guess, is from Kabul, Afghanistan. But yeah, no, Colorado, and then Lake Tahoe. I'm glad California, where we live, it gives you a little bit of everything, So I've talked to a lot of other Afghan folks where they're from like other parts of Afghanistan, like like the Jalalabad, Nangarhar, or even Kandahar and stuff. And you can have that kind of weather here in California. You know what I mean? So yeah.
Well, How old were you when you came to America?
I was as you introduced. I believe it was 12 or 13.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, again, I was young,
Yeah.
but I did have the opportunity to kind of experience a mix of different cultures. So luckily, I was among other Afghan folks and the community that was in Pakistan. That I learned most of my, besides my own family, obviously, right? So they would teach me more about it. But yeah. So how about you guys? Did you?
I came here when I was 4.
Oh, wow.
So most of my memories are from here. I don't remember feeling a huge culture shock, to be honest, because I was so young.
So young.
Yeah.
I actually went through some culture shock. Fortunately and unfortunately, right? So there are some good parts to it and bad parts to it. The bad part was where I actually, not knowing the language,
Yeah.
right? So and I can relate to a lot of new Afghans who just recently moved to United States. I didn't know the language, and it was I was kind of like, oh man, I'm kind of embarrassed to say certain things, or
Yeah.
what if people think of me differently,
Judging.
That was the fear. And then when you're a teenager, a young teenager, right?
Yeah.
You have that problems with self-esteem even, right?
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
You're like, oh, am I, what to do, how to fit in. Did you have that problem? You were born here, right?
Yeah, I was born here, but okay, so my situation.
God, easy, man.
Yeah, these.
No, trust me. That's what everyone thinks, but my situation was a little bit different because both of my parents came here like when they were like in their 20s, so later on, right? And I was the oldest in my family, so I didn't grow up in a household where English was being spoken. So I grew up honestly in a very traditional Afghan household. So when I went to kindergarten, I didn't know English. I didn't, like, my siblings do because we speak English in the house. But for me, like, I didn't know any English. I don't even know how I passed kindergarten, to be honest with you. I needed a translator for a lot of the stuff I was doing. So I kind of relate to you, and I kind of don't. But I was in kindergarten. I was very young, so I was never like... I assumed everybody was like me at the time because I was so young.
I mean, I can't imagine, like, so you come here, right? You're like a teenager. You don't even speak like a lick of English. You don't know the customs, anything. And then you decide to go into the medical field, which is pretty intense, academically rigorous. And I mean, there's all this terminology you have to learn, and there's a lot of memorization involved.
That is a different story, right? But because, the medical terminology, whether you were born here or not, it's a complete different language. But I had few years in between, to kind of learn the language and, get me to par, So I could be able to understand everything. And, of course, the challenges continue to, be there. And I'm learning something, a new word or phrase every day. So it's an ongoing learning situation.
So let me ask you, because you came here 12, 13 years old. I think there's a lot of Afghans in America right now that are in that same situation, right? Yeah. So for you, what was that biggest... the biggest thing that you could point to that led you on this path? Because you're in mashallah, a very successful position, but things could have easily gone the wrong way for you as well. So for you, what kind of guided you in the path that you are on right now?
That's a great question. If I really, now you guys are really making me think backward.
Take us back. Take
you back to
young Waheed. What was going on in his head?
Years back. I honestly really focus. One thing I think is important when you move to a new country is the language.
Yeah.
That really makes you prepared for the next step, which is learning the culture and all that, and what to do, what not to do. So my biggest focus when I moved in, I want to fit in, and to fit in, you have to know the language.
Yeah.
And I was really trying hard to get rid of the accent. I mean, I still have an accent, but it was worse then. So my focus was to learn the language enough so I could not. And again, I was kind of conscious about it, right?
Yeah.
So people were like,
that age especially.
Who's this guy? Where is he going? But then the challenge actually was even worse for me as an Afghan, immigrant, and then later Afghan American, I should say, is this whole thing happened post 9/11.
Yeah.
So I was that kid who was trying to fit in, right? But then it didn't matter if you spoke the language or born here or not. You were, considered that Muslim guy, right? So Muslim American, and as we all know, right, it was a little challenging. Not a little, very challenging, very challenging. So the things that I went through, it was a whole different levels of now I have to do something to fit in again. And luckily, the strong belief and family support that I had. As you said, things could have gone wrong, right? I could have chosen bad habits or do things that wouldn't be good in the community. But I stayed focused. I wanted to make sure that I get to my goal. Study my way out to learn more and things like that.
So what drove you the most? Was there like pressure from your family? Were you self-driven? You're by yourself, or was there something else?
Oh yeah, I have a lot of. I gotta thank my family, friends, mentors. There's counselors. I mean, you name it. So I was fortunate enough to just have so many opportunities and so many people around me, very supportive, very loving. To kind of push me towards the right path. You know what I mean? So I was definitely. It was never. It never was, and never. It wasn't a lone journey, but in the meantime, you also have to have a self motivation. You know what I mean? If a person doesn't have, I guess in my opinion, if a person doesn't have a self motivation, some kind of goal, no matter how much your family pushes you, friends pushes you, or push you, they just it's just not gonna happen.
No. I agree with that because
100%. No, that's
what I mean.
fact.
So you have to have a self motivation, and then you don't have to have a complete layout of what's gonna happen for the rest of your life, but some kind of goal to be like, all right, this is what I want to do. But then you get other people's support. You know what I mean? You earn other people's support. All right, everything is about earning. All right.
Absolutely.
And trust, just like earning their trust.
I noticed a lot of times, like especially when people are looking like to mentor somebody or to give someone a piece of advice, they don't just give it for free. They're looking like, oh, this guy, like, okay, he looks focused. He's coming here with the right questions. He looks like he's motivated. My time will be worth something to him.
Absolutely.
Like you said, you gotta earn that support as well too.
Yes.
If somebody's not trying, you're not gonna want to help them.
No, and nothing is without a challenge.
Yeah.
There's no easy way out. That's my advice now that I'm older. My advice to younger generation and even my patients who are in the, they're 18 or younger or a little older. I always tell them that if you gotta have a goal, and then work towards it. It's not gonna be easy, I gotta find a career thing that will bring me a lot of money and basically doesn't require a lot of my time and energy. Unfortunately, I've never seen anybody, even if you're like the president or the CEO or entrepreneur or so whatever, you have to work a lot. You know what I mean? So that's something that I can definitely say that self-motivation plus my family support and friends, mentors, some programs that was part of after-school programs. I mean, that all made a difference. And how about you guys? Was there something that inspired you in life that you are who you are, mashallah? I know you guys are both successful. It's not just me, right?
Thank you.
So I'm actually here because I'm happy and to have this opportunity to as a combined team to kind of put a message out there to maybe encourage others. So I'm also happy from what I know. Was there something that motivates you for going to college, studying? And
I mean, honestly, growing up, I was not really like self-driven. I was put in a lot of situations where I had to figure things out because you're the oldest, and my parents didn't know any English, so I was learning the American system with them, doing a lot of the good old adult stuff at like a young age. So I was kind of put in a situation where I was forced to do a lot of those things, but I was never interested in it. Like I was never driven, like, oh, I have to be successful. So I never really had the proper mindset until I got to college. And then I would say when I got to college, that's when like life kind of hit me, and I was like, okay, like I need to take this seriously. Like, so for me, like that's where I had a turning point, and I started to prioritize like my education, started to look out into like my life, like what do I actually want to be in 10 years from now, 5 years from now.
So you had a goal.
Exactly. But it wasn't always like that, like I think everyone's obviously different. For me, like it clicked in college, and that's when it turned around for me. And then even to this day, I'm still trying to figure out exactly what I want to be. And I think it's good as long as you're trying to do something successful, whether you're still figuring it out or not. So for me, that was the turning point. So now I would say I'm more self-driven. I have a purpose to provide. So that's it for me. Mansoor, what about you?
Yeah, I think for me, like you said, I had a Noori because I had my older brother. Noori had to play that part, and he's guiding like his younger siblings, and from everything he's learned, I had elder siblings that were very motivated. On top of that, like my parents were always very big on education and stuff. So I definitely had like the right role models and whatnot. But definitely at some point it takes, like you said, some self-motivation.
100%.
If you're not in it, doesn't matter who's around you. I was gonna say, look at Joe Biden's son. it depends on the person, but so yeah. And for me, I think one of the big things was like at some point in my life, I realized like, oh, like my family were immigrants here, and there's like that chip on your shoulder. I think I'm naturally always like trying to do more, just because I feel like we have that opportunity.
Yes.
I think that's what drives me a lot.
Perfect.
I feel like maybe if I was here like second, third generation, honestly, I like to have a chill life. I'm not big on like just pushing to the max and doing as much as I can. But due to having that opportunity, I just feel like it would be a waste,
Absolutely.
to not do it. So definitely, taking some responsibility and like feeling like owning up for your family, your parents, trying to set up something nice for your community. So that's kind of what drives me, to be honest.
Good. All right.
Thank you for asking. And that makes me think like, because we all went to college, we chose different paths.
Yes.
You chose the medical field. Was there like any specific reason why you got into that?
In the medical field, well, there are many reasons. I mean, I know that in life you have to sometimes think of what your parents want, what your community wants. And I know, as we all know, in the Afghan community, like if you ask everybody, what do you want to be? Oh, I want to be a doctor, right?
Yeah,
I want to be in some kind of
Yeah.
medical field. So I have to admit that was one of them, one of the
Okay.
motivation. But then as I grew up, I actually didn't directly go into medicine. So I obviously in the United States, as we all know, we have to do a bachelor degree, and the bachelor degree it took me a whole year to figure out what I want to do. And when I was in high school, I was trying everything. I was doing like computer science. I did like computer programming, and I was the math, and then this and that. So then at one point, studying the biology and the chemistry and all that really motivated me. It also have to do with who teaches you, right? So like a professor, a teacher. Sometimes you have a whole different level, different goal, and then that one teacher who's really good at teaching you that one subject really motivates you to becoming that, right? So like if a person wants to become a mathematician, then one. So I had teachers like that, where
Like someone that inspired
yeah, I
you.
had plenty of professors and
Okay.
teachers in high school and college. God bless them, I hope they're well. And I really they motivated me to study chemistry or biology. I was like, oh my God, this is fascinating. Then beyond that, right? But to answer your question, sorry, I actually wanted to go into research at first. I worked as a lab technician for quite a while, actually, for a few years at Massachusetts General Hospital, which is a teaching hospital for Harvard Medical School. And I was surrounded by all these geniuses, very smart people. Which even motivated me even more to pursue a career in medicine. I had MDs and researchers, PhDs. It's like, oh my God, I want to be that,
Nice.
So, and I had a great boss and other doctors who were working there. So a lot of motivation. But one thing that I was really happy and blessed was that I had a lot of opportunities. You know what I mean? So sometimes it's a combination of everything. What opportunities available, and how are you gonna use that to get where you want. And then I learned about the PA program. Really excellent PAs that I actually shadowed. I said, wow, I didn't know much about it, and I said, wow, this is a great career, which really is. So then I pursued my career in that, applied for schools, I was lucky to get in and study, and so here I am, yeah.
Actually, on that thought, a lot of Afghans, I feel like, or the whole community, I feel like needs to be introduced to what a PA is.
Yes.
Because it's a great alternative to a very long journey, which would, be going into MD.
Yes.
And can you tell us a little bit?
Can you tell? I want to know that too, but I want to know why you chose PA over MD. Maybe you were going to answer that already, but
just let us.
So partly, well, first of all, let me answer that question about
Like the difference.
The difference, yeah. So you're right, absolutely. So a lot of, and in many countries actually, not just Afghanistan, there's just the doctor and the nurse. That's it. So there's nothing else beyond that. We don't even have a right term to explain what the PA is and physician assistant and Afghan. They think that you're the assistant. You don't know much. You're the assistant. Going back in the history, it started as that, but then it branched off as its own, basically, I don't know, entity or where you build on that kind of career. So basically you do everything that an MD or DO, doctor of osteopathy, they're two different kinds. With some limitations for sure. And for example, you can do surgery, alone. You have to have the supervising physician, there. And then in general, as of now, we do have to have a supervising physician under that license. It doesn't mean they're there the whole time. but by law we have to work under somebody else's license. So it is a little bit of a challenge sometimes, but the best part why I want to go into this is that I didn't know much about it. So once I learned that it's a shorter route, schooling, it's not easy. It's a lot of challenges. It's actually very hard to get into PA school, especially nowadays.
Is it true it's more competitive?
Very competitive for many reasons. It's a great career, and it pays well, right? A lot of people looking for good pay, 6 figures. Yes, absolutely. And then also, you are able to change your specialty, where an MD has to go into residency, which is a long period of schooling, and then residency. Then they're stuck in, one specialty. PAs can go to different specialties. Like if you're in the family practice, you don't like it after a few years, you can be trained in the cardiology, heart specialty, or orthopedics, or dermatology, skin, or whatever, So that is a plus, and that's something that a lot of people would be looking for, right? Well, and so that's why. And when I learned that, I said, "Wow, I can't just give this up,"
Yeah.
So, just to recap, so some of the pros are, it's faster. There's more flexibility in the specialty you're in.
Yes, absolutely.
And then some of the cons are that it's more competitive than becoming a doctor.
Well, I wouldn't say it's more, but equally competitive. It's something that a lot of people want to do, and so getting into a PA school program is becoming challenging. Compared to maybe 10 years ago, for example. From what I hear, I have a lot of students who shadow and apply to PA schools, which they tell me is so challenging. Things have changed, I guess.
One thing I'm curious about, this is just a very general question. I know there are people who apply and don't get in on their first try, second try. Do you know if there is like a cap where you get this amount of tries to apply and then you're done? Or do generally people give up after a certain amount of time?
I'm not sure if there's a limit to how many times you can apply, but so it does require a lot of. So one, never give up. Okay, so when you are motivated, you want to do something, try harder. So that's my advice to people who are interested. Definitely don't just give it up and say, I'm gonna stop here. So you can try, but then at some point, if you keep trying, so every cycle is every once a year, right? So then you apply, and it's a lot of money for applications. It takes time to wait. If you apply for next year, you have to apply now, right? For example, so a whole year. Generally, if you apply and after a few years you don't get in, then you're getting older.
Right.
So that's the only thing that would probably stop a person from. But I hope that doesn't happen to anybody.
Yeah.
I hope that everybody applies and get into wherever school, whether it's MD, PA, engineering, or whatever career they want to do. But yeah, that's basically what I would say.
Well, John, let's say somebody's hearing this or watching this, and they like what they're hearing about PA, like Noori mentioned, it's shorter, it's in healthcare, great work-life balance, a lot of pros. I actually read somewhere that it's by some magazine they rated it like the best profession and one of the most growing and attractive.
Yes.
So somebody wants to be a PA, some young person. Can you give a quick outline of what majors would be good for them? I know that there's a certain amount of hours that they need to complete before applying to PA school.
Experience.
What are some good jobs that they can do to build those hours? and then just a little bit about the application process.
So you have to do well, and starting from high school, even before that, but high school, you have to have good grades to get to the next level or next step, which is undergrad, college or university. So you have to have great GPA, and then you have to have a bachelor's degree. And if you want to be successful in your PA program or MD or DO, whatever, but now we're speaking about the PA, you have to do well in the science subjects, right? So you have to have chemistry, physics, biology, math, and I believe nowadays they even require like sociology. That's important, because it's not just science, but when you treat a person, once you become a PA or a DO or MD or a nurse or NP, there are so many different routes now. I hope that that person doesn't only look at the disease, just looking at the disease, but there's a whole environment beyond that, right? So looking at the person as a whole, and the whole environment, living situation, family orientation, and all, socioeconomic situation, and all that. So that's where the sociology, the anthropology, and these are all part of that. So you have to study those. And then once you graduate from college, some schools require different exams. Obviously, there's the MCAT, and then there's GRE. So there are different. You have to really look at what each school requires, because that's important. Unfortunately, with PA school, there is a standard application, but then each school has their own prerequisites,
right?
Which makes it challenging for some. Here I am, I graduated college, I have my degree. Oh, now I have to take extra classes afterwards to meet certain other schools' requirements, which I had to actually do that. I had to take classes after I graduated, had my bachelor's, to just meet the requirements. And then you're right. So you have to have some experience in the medical field as either you shadow someone for so many hours. Some schools want you to have up to either 1,000 or 2,000 hours of experience. So that's like a year, a couple of years sometimes. Whether you're a medical assistant or you work in some kind of medical field, so you have to have that. Then you also have to at least once shadow a PA to know about it, not just blindly apply. Well, because it pays 6 figures, here I am.
I think that's a really important recommendation that you're giving.
Yes, honestly, be honest with yourself is what I always say. When you're not honest with yourself, and if you say, "Well, I want to become a doctor or PA or whatever," but but deep down that it's not for you. You can't stand the sight of a blood. You can't. You're like, ew, what is that? Is that an infection on the skin? Or you're like, oh my God, what happened? Did you get punched on the face? Is that a dog? Oh my.
Can't be squirmish.
No. Yeah. And not only that, but you come across different humans, right?
Yeah.
From all walks of life, different orientation, culture, language, color, skin, truly you have to be open-minded, welcoming, and then understanding that medicine is for everybody. You have to treat everybody the same. So, and then, so that's what it is. Then you apply.
Yeah.
And then that's another challenge. PA schools are not like, oh, we're going to accept thousands of people today, this round. No, it's very limited seat. When I went to school, they only accept, out of thousands of applicants, only 40 or 45 people were selected.
Wow.
And I was one of them.
Very
right? So, and then there's an interview. They have to call you in for an interview to find out, are you up to this challenge? Because it's very challenging.
Yeah.
It is challenging. It's very real. and it's a very basically, everything that you learn in medical, an MD or DO, is compressed into two years or so.
What is DO?
Doctor of osteopath.
Okay.
So that's they're doctors. So yeah, and then once you get accepted, the whole challenge. So now it's not to scare people, but I want them to get a realistic picture of what it takes to become a PA. It's not like, I just become a PA. No, you go through a lot of challenges, a lot of studying, rigorous programs, and you have to be very competitive, because chances are you're not the only one with a 4.0 GPA,
Yeah.
There are like thousands of others 4.0. Everybody is from probably Afghanistan or India or some other country that have a unique experience. Everybody is done after school programs,
Let me ask you about that. So somebody who has a 3.2, should they even be considering this profession?
I wouldn't say that because, again, the reason I said that is like, you have to do something to make you stand out, right?
So differentiate yourself.
But even if you have a lower GPA, I was giving examples of 4.0.
Yeah.
But even if you have it doesn't mean that you won't get in. Because, again, they're looking at overall person, right? So it's not just that. But yes, unfortunately, the truth is, the higher your GPA, the higher your grades, the higher chances you have. You know what I mean? And it's I heard one person said it's not accepting a process, it's rejecting
process. Yeah, that's
so they're looking for a reason to reject you, not to accept you.
Yeah,
you see what I mean? So so that's challenging, but it's very doable, very doable.
Like you said, very doable. I want you to give a couple things, like your top 2 to 3 advice for people that want to do this.
Mm-hmm.
On top of that, I think that as Afghans we do have some leverage because, right, you said everybody has a 4.0, everybody did extracurriculars, but not everybody is an immigrant from a war-torn country, got uprooted. So I know that this is actually beneficial to a lot of Afghans if they leverage it properly.
For sure.
Yeah. Tell us a little bit about that, and if you're that type of person, you can leverage that. What are some other key pointers that they should consider?
Well, that's definitely something that would make them stand out, unfortunately.
Yeah.
I don't wish this for anybody, to live in a war-torn country. But that actually gives you, so I'll speak for myself. That actually, even though I was a young, child, when my family moved from Afghanistan, but then I had the opportunity to go back, back and forth from because it's right next door, right?
Yeah.
And I've experienced things, there was war, there was people suffering from all kinds of things, diseases, hunger, hopelessness, homelessness,
Mm-hmm.
you name it. So that actually gives you a better idea of, the real world of what people could possibly go through. And then here we have our challenges, right? Same thing. Yeah. What I suggest is that you have to prove to the admission committee that you are up to this challenge, right? And what some of the experiences that they have, went through, the life challenges that they have actually experienced that made them who they are and what they want to be beyond that, right? So that's the question. Always keep that in mind, that what can I do to prove myself to them that, hey, I'm the right person, okay? And then, so that's why in my class there were 45 people that were ready for that challenge, right? So, and I was blessed to be considered and be a candidate for that. And then going beyond that, actually, to answer this question, you have to go a little beyond that. The real world of a PA, MD, DO, nursing, all that, is that when you're actually face to face with a patient, diseases, that's when you actually realize, oh my God, that's when it really hits you and brings either the worst out of you or the best out of you. You know what I mean? Because that's real life. You see a person suffering from an infection or a gun wound or an accident, a trauma, fractures, crying, that's when so always be real with yourself, right? So I want to become a doctor, a PA, whatever, and can I be that person when they need me? You don't want to have that degree and they call you in, hey, I have this patient like with a severe, car accident. There's blood everywhere. Like, oh, no, not for me. Sorry, I can't do that because you are their hope.
There has to be some passion.
Yeah, you have, and sometimes it's not about the money, right? If you're going into this career for the money, and don't get me wrong, I enjoy that, right? It's a good salary, but if you're going to that mentality that I'm going for the money because it has, can buy this and that, it's not for you. You're in the wrong career. Again, when you go into medicine, it's all about passion, taking care of people, working long hours, challenges. You don't realize, but even medical providers go through so much depression, anxiety, trauma themselves, mentally, because of the things you experience or see. So, so that's something that I want to kind of, share.
Yeah.
Because that's important.
What generally happens to those folks that go in for the money?
They don't go far. I'll be honest with you. One, they lose a lot of, your bread and butter is your patients, right? So it's a business. At some point, it is a business, right? So when the patients, your clients, realize that you're not that person who cares, they're not going to come see you, right? They're like, oh, I don't like this doctor. I don't like this PA. And then, you're not, you don't make it too far.
When you say don't make it too far, are you saying that their performance just is bad, or are they personally just going to eventually just leave this field?
Well, because then it's not about leaving the field. It's about like you're going to hate your career, and then you're going to be very sad for what you're doing, right? You're like, oh, this is challenging. You wake up, you're like, oh, I don't want to do this, Yeah, the money's good, but do I really have to see this patient? Don't get me wrong, we always, think that, sometimes you have that challenge like, oh man, like just like everybody else, like, oh, I don't want to work today, right?
Yeah.
Right? So I have those feelings too sometimes. But if you are only there to say, well, it should be, everything should be easy because I'm getting the money, it's not that, and if you don't have the passion, then you're not going to build a good rapport with your patient. You just, morally, it's just wrong too, you know what I mean? Ethically, morally, so that's...
Let me ask you one question, and then I'll have Mansoor, we could transition to something different. But earlier, I know Mansoor asked you about basically diversity and like leveraging being Afghan, especially from if you're from Afghanistan, to your advantage when applying. So I want to ask you a question. Since you've already worked in this field for a while now, and it's being diversity that's being pushed a lot right now across all the different industries, and I know it is in the medical field as well. So I want to ask you your personal opinion. Do you think that diversity is important in the medical field? And if you do, can you give me an example why?
Well, the answer is simple, yes, right? Diversity in any walk of life is important because it actually makes you learn so much. And so, yeah, speaking for, particularly in the medical field.
Have you experienced a situation where your background or
played a big role?
Yeah.
Oh, every day. I mean, I am an Afghan. I speak the language, and most of my patients who are scheduled with me, they purposely put Afghans with me just because they feel comfortable sharing certain things. And then certain things are lost in translation, right? So when they come see me and they understand, they learn that I speak their language, they feel so relieved. They're like, oh, now I can tell you how I feel, because I was the whole time walking here, I didn't know you're an Afghan, the new patients, not the established one. And I was like, I don't know how to explain this in English. Oh my God, they're not going to understand me, right? So that just, took a lot of weight off their shoulder, and they feel better already. Just like, hey, all of a sudden my headache went away. or never mind, how are you doing? So yes, diversity is very important, and we have to have cultural sensitivity and awareness. We have to really understand that how we grew up may be so different from other cultures, and some of the myths, some of the misconceptions, some of the if I just think this way or eat this or do this, it's just gonna get, and then that mentality to somebody else, we're like, what the heck are you talking about? Like, that makes no sense. So yeah, it's definitely important. And actually, there will be so many classes. Hopefully, they're not enough. Actually, I should say, on cultural diversity and learning more about different religions, cultures. So it does play a big role.
It's funny you brought up the point about losing things in translation, because my mom. Anytime she went to the doctor growing up, she had a translator with her. And my mom, throughout the years, started learning English better. But she still had translators. And my mom got to a point where she started realizing that the translators were interpreting what she was saying wrong to the doctor.
Unfortunately, that is very true. I have experienced that many times so luckily I speak the language for the Afghan population. And then one day I was passing by one of the doors, and I overheard patients saying something to the doctor. The walls are thin sometimes. So, and then the translator completely translated the wrong way, the wrong thing. And I almost want to step in. I don't want to violate any privacy, but I want to be like, hey, what are you doing? So knowing the language plays a huge role on explaining your situation to somebody. When the third person comes in, sometimes that becomes very challenging. It's frustrating too for a lot of people.
And I feel like that could be a very big issue, especially if you're at an appointment when it's something serious, like you're telling the doctor and now you're thinking about treating something completely like from what it actually is.
There are a lot of misunderstanding, so just today I had a Spanish-speaking patient who, came in, and she was frustrated because she didn't get her medication from the pharmacy. So she was talking through a translator to me, and she kept, apparently she was saying that her driver who drove her there, because she was living in a senior living place, her driver didn't speak Spanish, so she already had that, a challenge to begin with. And then once she got to the pharmacy, the pharmacist said something, and they misunderstood. The driver didn't know English very well either, and there was a huge, argument back and forth. And then apparently the pharmacy tech or pharmacist or something said, waved her hands, like, go, just, we'll. So she thought that they canceled the whole order. The pharmacist got mad, apparently, and canceled, which was not true. So I had to find out more, call the pharmacy myself. I said, hey, this is what happened. Like, can you tell me more? And they said, no, all I want to tell them is that, the refills are not due yet. The next refills in June. So you still have a whole month. You should have enough supply. But she thought that they're canceling everything. You see what I mean? So
It's
she was
tough.
really frustrated. She was like calling different places, calling her doctor.
Man.
I was like, oh my God, just, so it's a challenge.
Life as an immigrant is definitely not easy, and
It's not.
it's good to see that we have people like you who can kind of make a difference, like by understanding the language. And
I'm honored, and I'm actually blessed to be given that opportunity to work among the Afghan community. I never thought that I would be in the United States of America, work in a community where it's all Afghan.
Yeah.
I mean, where I grew up in the East Coast and the school, the college, and PA school, all that, they're mostly other people. I was one or the two Afghans in the entire campus or something. Sometimes,
Yeah.
mostly white people or other
Yeah,
cultures.
yeah, yeah.
So, and that was going in. That was my thought the whole time, that I'd never probably face another Afghan, and then this opportunity opened up in
Yeah.
Sacramento,
Yeah.
where I looked up, and then when they were interviewing me for the job, they were like, "Oh my God, are you an Afghan?" I said, "Yeah." They're like, "We need you. We need you
Yeah,
here."
yeah,
'Cause-
yeah.
And then that's when I found out. I realized that there are a lot of Afghans in the Sacramento area, and they're growing.
Yeah.
And that's when I said, "Oh wow." So I actually had to, because the Dari language, like we speak Dari in my family, among my siblings and all that, growing up. But then when I went to school and all that, I kind of was taking away from that, right?
Mhm.
So I kind of forgot certain phrases and terms, because it got to a point where my siblings and I, even today, we mostly talk in English.
Yeah.
And then it's a very natural thing now.
Yeah, yeah.
Just. So I had to really be careful, because my patients wouldn't understand me if I
Yeah,
had to
yeah.
throw a English phrase or something. So it really forced me to come back to my roots,
Yeah, yeah.
roots,
Yeah.
and learn the Dari again.
God's plan for you,
Yeah,
man.
yeah,
Like
yeah.
they say, Qismat and Nasib, you
Qismat
never
Nasib.
thought that
For sure.
you said you were surrounded by
I was.
non-Afghans.
Non-Afghans.
Next thing you know,
Yeah.
all your patients
I was a little
are-
whitewashed, for sure. And then so now I have to explain even the medical terms I had to
Yeah,
learn
yeah.
in Dari, to kind of explain to them,
Yeah.
like, oh, this is what you have. Or they would say, oh, look, I have this problem in Dari, right? And that terminology would be so different. I'd be like, what is that, Then I had to look it up and be like, oh my God, this is the disease you're talking about, Like Moraka, they have this thing called Moraka. And I was like, oh my God, what is that? So I had to learn that. It was
Sounds like a alien.
the typhoid,
Oh wow.
or there are plenty of other, or hepatitis B, they say Zardisia,
Yeah.
and then which made me kind of think, like, why is Zardisia,
Yeah.
like,
yeah.
I don't know, but I had to learn all this,
Speaking of like Afghan like medical terminology and stuff,
Mhm.
do you know what Afghans' obsession with paracetamol is?
Paracetamol.
Is that what they
Yeah,
call? That's
absolutely.
called. I've heard it. Paracetamol. First, do you know like I'm sure like how to say it in English.
Yeah, so paracetamol is actually acetaminophen. It's Tylenol.
Okay.
So acetaminophen, and you know what? I have to be honest. I didn't even know that at first either, because a lot of them were like, "Doctor, sir, just give me the paracetamol,"
Yeah.
And I was like, "What the heck?" So yeah, it's acetaminophen. So acetaminophen, Tylenol.
That's
so
a pain
very-
reliever, right?
Yeah, they believe in it. They some folks believe that they even cures cancer. Or whatever. It's a very
hear it
common
all
thing.
the time, and I'm
There are
like,
there are a lot of memes about it.
Mhm.
I know there are a lot of Afghan comedians or skits that they've
Yeah.
made. The guy brings his mom and give me paracetamol.
Yeah.
So yeah, it is true. Certain beliefs.
Yeah.
That's what I was going back to that topic about diversity.
Yeah.
You really have to. If you were an Afghan, you would be like, what the heck
Why?
are they talking
Yeah.
about? But knowing your
Yeah,
own culture,
yeah.
that's the thing.
What are some common health misconceptions in the Afghan community that you've noticed from your patients?
Unfortunately, there are a lot, and it is kind of cute, to be honest. It's again.
It is cute, right? It's a little cute.
It's very
I like-
cute.
yeah,
It's very
yeah.
cute, and they believe in it. They're like, "This
Yeah.
is the cure." No, I don't accept anything else. This is it.
Yeah.
My sister or my uncle or somebody in the family did it, and they got cured. But they forget that they're also taking certain medications with it.
What is that? What is that? That phrase where you're given a medication and
Oh, like a placebo effect? Yeah.
my sister
it
got
happens.
cured.
Yeah.
Placebo.
So
You never know.
there are some studies. Placebo effect is real.
Yeah.
Sometimes people just by believing in
Yeah.
it, like this actually helped me.
Yeah.
That mindset that actually helps you
Yeah.
feel better.
Yeah, I mean, I've
It's
heard that
true.
it's that
Yeah.
scientifically it's been proven.
It's
to
all
help.
up here, right? That's what they say. It's all up here. But yeah, no. So one common one that I came across is that a lot of people are struggling with weight loss, right? So or obesity, and they want to lose weight. So a lot of Afghans are, well, if I drink 4 cups of warm water in the morning, first thing in the morning, that really helps. Yeah, it helps with hydration and with everything, your blood pressure and everything. But I don't know if it's gonna. I mean, it's the 100% gonna help you.
Yeah, yeah.
Or they say, oh, if I drink water with lime juice,
Yeah.
lime juice is gonna burn all the fat,
Mhm.
And unfortunately, a lot of them have tried that so many times that they come in with stomach pain, and I have acid reflux, and I have epigastric
Yeah,
pain, which is
yeah.
upper, stomach pain. So there are a lot of misconceptions.
I have one that I grew up with. I don't know if it's a misconception or not. Actually, you can tell me. I used to always get just leg pain or like a headache, and then my mom would tie like her chaldada around my leg or the head. I mean, short term, I know it helped me with with the pain going away. But what's
I don't
the
think
logic behind
that's
that?
not a misconception. Sometimes the compression, helps. So
Yeah.
we have sometimes when people fall or they have sprain or strain or either muscle or ligament injuries, we told them to do RICE treatment, RICE. So rest, icing, compression, and elevation. Okay, RICE. It's not the rice we eat. It's just so the compression part, tying something that actually helps. It reduces the pain, inflammation, and all that. But it's a combination of everything.
Yeah.
Now it can't be just that alone.
Yeah.
So I don't think that was a misconception. I think a lot of times it worked. It's just like pressuring, like getting a massage.
Yeah, yeah.
They're they're like, oh, there's a knot there.
Yeah.
And then so that helps. But there are a lot, unfortunately.
A lot of misconceptions.
Yeah, just like any other culture.
Yeah, I'm sure. It probably stems from something at some point that had some.
I'm sure there was. I'm sure.
But then it just unfolded wrong.
I think Afghans hold people's testimony very truly, the examples you were giving of oh, my sister, my mother, this helped and cured them. I swear, if Afghans could attach something to someone they know and it worked for them,
there's no way
you can't convince them. Exactly.
No way. And sometimes it could be frustrating because they come into my office and say, well, I know that you gave me that medication, but my sister said, no, don't take that. Don't take that. That's wrong medication. I'm like, is your sister a doctor or a PA or is it a medical field? No, but she told me, so I stopped taking it. Okay, well, then why are you here seeing me? It is frustrating sometimes. No, it is because, if they don't, now I respect their decision about their health.
Right.
But then has to be some truth to that, right? Some science behind it. And so sometimes they make their disease or their condition worse by not doing the right thing or not taking their medication, things like that. Another misconception, culturally speaking, those who come into the United States, unfortunately, they're part of the reason is that when you're new to a country, just like we were, my family and you don't know a lot, right? That's the truth. And you're looking for someone who's been here even a day longer than you, and be like, hey, how was yesterday? You know, like that one day. How did you experience that?
Yeah.
So they're Afghans sometimes that, unfortunately, sometimes they're misled by other Afghans. Like, major things like, oh, don't tell your doctor about this disease or this condition because they might hurt you. They might hurt your becoming, to become a citizen. They might hurt your case to, getting government aid or help. So there's so many, fear. I noticed that, I feel it. I'm like, oh my God. So I have to actually correct them. Like, no, that's not what it is. So yeah, unfortunately.
I'm sure you deal with with a lot of cases that might be frustrating. How do you go about handling the situation with your patients?
Well, you have to really be patient, right?
Okay.
So that's one thing. You have to you have the patience for it, and then also again, we have to be culturally sensitive, right? Again, not just with Afghans, with everything, because every culture has a certain beliefs that you can't, as you said, convince them otherwise. You can't say no, that's not right. But you have to educate them. That's the most important thing. So you have to give them the right information. You have to, educate. A lot of times they're like, oh my God, I didn't even know. Wow, that's crazy. This whole time I thought this. I've gone through that kind of feeling so many times in my life, right? I had no idea certain things, and somebody told me the way it works, and you're like, oh my God, I have, that moment, right? The eureka.
Yeah, eureka.
So yeah, education is the key, and not, I just get frustrated and judge them right away and be like, oh no, what are you doing? Oh my God, I can't believe I'm talking. No, you have to make sure that you have the time to kind of, explain that. And that helps. That helps a lot, because I've had people turn around, 180 degrees and then completely change,
Yeah.
So yeah, that's something.
I want to transition us to another very important topic.
Mm-hmm.
Before I do so, do you have anything to ask him or discuss related to where we're at now?
No, not at the moment.
This one's going to be good. Okay, so a very taboo topic within Afghans is mental health.
Uh-huh.
I've heard of people saying oh, bachara jinn girafta, or basically to translate, oh, he has the
devil inside of
him. Like a jinn took over his body, or big misconception, right? Who knows? There might be one out of 100 people that might be true, but it can't be every time. What's your experience with the whole mental health topic?
Well, the mental health is the worldwide crisis.
Right.
To be honest, it's not just for the Afghans. Unfortunately, I see all kinds of patients. So that is a very real problem. A lot of people, unfortunately, not a lot of funding has focused on that. Not a lot of providers. We don't have a lot of providers in the mental health section. If you ask me, I don't think I could even become a psychiatrist, or it's a challenging career, so it's not for everybody. I know it's not for me. I'll be honest with that. So that's one thing. That's a major thing. There's few providers and more patients, but in the other challenge to, on top of that, another layer of difficulty is that, yes, speaking about, since you asked about the Afghan culture, there is a huge misconception about, like, or misinformation, I should say, that if you go to your doctor or provider and tell them that I have depression or anxiety, that might hurt you in a way, some way. That might hurt again, they're worried about getting their citizenship or, become a permanent resident or even government aid. Sometimes the mothers are so worried, I don't know where they got this information. Somebody may have told them the wrong information, that if you say that I'm depressed or I have some kind of mental disorder, they're going to take away your kids from you. They're going to take away your children. You're going to become homeless. And it's not true.
That's tough, though.
It's not true,
that's
right?
Tough.
And don't you think that it comes a lot from like the lack of education on what mental health is? Because I feel like Afghans, especially from back home, they just assume like, no, this is normal. Like, I'm just going through this.
Yes.
Because
the unfortunate part of how we think in Afghanistan, so there's no like, oh, I have afsardagi, which is like a little depression, or astarab, like a little anxiety or something like that. It's like, oh, are you saying I'm crazy? Am I crazy? I'm mental? Oh my God! Did you say
You take it? They take it personal.
They take it personal, but they also take it the wrong way. I sometimes have depression. I have anxiety. At some point I might need a psychiatrist or psychologist. Then that's okay.
Yeah.
Because we're all, and unfortunately, the reality is that almost 100% of Afghans have experienced some kind of trauma.
Yeah.
In Afghanistan, living in Afghanistan.
Yeah.
Not those who were born here. No, I'm just kidding. But people who've lived in those countries, PTSD is real. We cannot deny that.
Yeah.
We have to be real with ourselves, be honest about our feelings, because that alone, that will get you in trouble if you don't seek help.
Mm-hmm.
I've had people with anger issues. People gone to fight with people. They've abused their wife, abused their husband, their kids, because they denied who they had, or they were in denial, and they actually never went to seek help.
Yeah.
And that could have prevented all that, right? And there are medications for that. Nobody's gonna deny you citizenship or take away your children. If you're on the treatment to feel better, get rid of that depression, anxiety, or even psychosis. There are other things. So that's something that unfortunately has haunted, and it's been the Afghan community, and very frustrating for the providers like myself to spend more time to convince them that, look, it's okay to tell me. I'm not a cop.
Yeah.
I'm not a policeman. We're like, oh, is that what you said? All right, turn around, sir.
Handcuffs.
No. I'm there to help, and you should trust your providers, your nurses, your medical professionals, doctors. You have to, because they're the one to help you, not to hurt you.
Yeah.
can I just I want to push back a little bit on what you just mentioned. So, by law, correct me if I'm wrong, but by law, like if you sense any kind of like abuse or like seeing like some kind of seeing someone willing to harm themselves, you have to legally report that.
Yes,
right?
there's certain mandated reporting. That's a whole different topic, and different states have different laws and all that. So I'm not gonna get into that. But yes, you're right. So if somebody says that, it's not to put them in jail because they have that. Again, I want to clarify.
It's to protect them.
We're not to hurt anybody.
Yeah.
We're to protect them from harming themselves. So if someone says, yeah, I have thoughts of hurting myself in a certain way, and they have a clear plan, then we have to take action to protect them. Keep them safe and in the hospital or somewhere, and on a watch. To make sure that they are not harming themselves. Or obviously, if somebody says, "Well, I'm so angry at this one person, I want to go and, God forbid, kill him or harm or hurt him," we always joke around about
Yeah.
things, right? Like, oh, I'm so mad at you, I'm gonna kill you.
Yeah.
That's different from actual having a plan and being serious about it. So if we know that, and it takes a lot of experience too, if we kind of sense that this person is serious about hurting somebody, we have to report, right, to protect that other person and protect them from going to jail for doing that, right? The consequences.
For making a bad mistake.
So there's, those situations are different. But if you come in and say, I doc or provider, I'm really depressed, that's okay to mention that. And we are here to help. You have to seek for some kind of help,
I wanna ask you about a specific scenario. It's unfortunate, but I do want to talk about it because I do feel like it happens. So let's say there's it's common like for the wives to come with their husbands from Afghanistan, probably have no family here, right? Mm-hmm. Let's say there was some kind of whether it was a verbal argument or some kind of like consistent mistreatment from like either the husband or like the in-laws. Where does your position like on that lie? Like, do you have to go and report that if it's consistently happening and it's being told to you by the patient? And
well, that's it's kind of tricky question because it all depends on the situation. Yeah, nobody should tolerate any kind of abuse, physical, mental, emotional, any of that.
And sorry, just to give you context, the reason I bring that up is because I know people who know that like if they went to their doctor, they were afraid like, oh, they're gonna arrest my husband and then that'll create more problems for them like once they get out, or their in-laws or things like that. So I know that's like a serious concern that people have when they look for ways to get help. But
my take on that again, nobody should be abused. Okay, no human being should be abused, and whether it's verbal, physical, nobody's perfect. Every family, including myself, we argue, your disagreement, things like that. But when it comes to like, abuse, that's it shouldn't be, tolerated. So what I suggest is that if you're in a situation where you feel unsafe, you should report that. You should absolutely, whether to police or your provider, who's going to help you, report that. And unfortunately, there are situations where, especially females, they don't have that courage or given that courage to do that, which is wrong, and same with male, there are a lot of, we shouldn't just think that as the females, we're being. It's true, mostly they are, but there are situations where the husband is being abused, physically, emotionally, verbally, and that's also not okay, right? So whatever situation, but my message to the Afghan community and all communities is that you should trust your provider, talk to them, because we're there to help you, not to hurt you, not to get you in trouble, but make sure that you and your family are safe. You know what I mean? So that's the message. You know what I mean?
Honestly, that was a beautiful message. I think we wrap it up with that. I think we provide the space for them to see that this is a safe spot, and there are people there to help you.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And then, another message for the Afghan community, especially the young Afghan folks,
Why don't you look into that camera and speak directly to them?
No, so it's true. I want everybody to basically, now it's kind of awkward looking that way.
Welcome back.
Yeah, welcome back. Here I am. But honestly, it's very important, again, for the Afghan youth to understand this one thing, that your parents and our parents have sacrificed so much, so that, we get to where, have a better life, better education, better everything, And it would be very sad to kind of not only disappoint them, but to kind of just ignore everything they've went through, take things for granted, and forget the challenges that they had to face for you to be in this country.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's what I'm gonna leave this conversation. All I'm asking is that do your best. It doesn't have to be a PA. Doesn't have to be whatever. Do something with your life. Have a goal. Education is the key. You know, you could be a millionaire, a billionaire. If you don't have education, a lot of people don't have a class. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
you want to have a class. You want to be educated. You want to be respected in the society. Have some kind of education. You know, what I hear, recently nowadays, Afghan youth are so misguided. Well, I'm gonna do this business to bring me a lot of money, and I'm gonna buy my parents this house, and yeah, but that's all good. It's not gonna take you far if you don't have the education to back you. Okay, so college education is very important. Whether you're gonna end up making money from that degree or not, but you will be well-rounded person, well-informed. You would have a better conversation with people sitting around, the dinner table at a meeting, and you earn more respect that way.
Yeah.
Versus like, I have no education, but doesn't matter because I'm making so much money. Ask me something about a topic, and I'm like, well, who cares? That shouldn't be the mentality.
Yeah.
Because I'm making so much money.
Yeah.
Right. So, I want everybody to live their life comfortably. Yes, money is important. Money is important. You have to have the money to live a comfortable life for sure. But education is the key. That's what I want to leave with. Okay.
That's a beautiful message.
Couldn't agree more. Thank you, Waheed.
Thank you guys again. I'm very honored to be here, and I'm very happy and very pleased to get this opportunity to send my message out there, share my personal stories, and I'm also very proud of you too for creating this opportunity for all Afghan folks who are somewhere in their life, and to share their stories and how to get to create that medium for others to learn.
Yeah.
So thank you.
We appreciate your time, bro. Thank you.
Of course.
Thank you.
Of course.
Thank you.
Of course.
Thank you, everyone, for joining us at the Majlis Podcast. We would love your support, so please like, comment, share, and subscribe.